strategy for digital marketing. So strategy, everything we do in strategy is tied to what we do in marketing. We remember marketing 101, most of us had marketing classes before, right? So digital marketing is really not that much different than traditional marketing. There are some concepts that are unique to it. So we'll talk through that a little bit. I like to start off with what I call I call them Professor Ken's 5 Qs, but they're like questions, okay? And I start with the first question I start with is what? So do you remember being in elementary school and you had to write like a book report and you had to sort of do what? Those questions, what were they? What? Where, when, why, who, right? How? Okay, so that's what we're gonna cover now. So when I say what here, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about your product or your service. Could be your product or your service. So you first need to have that product or service in your mind, so what it is, and then we have to have what we call a USP. So a USP is a unique selling proposition. USP, unique selling proposition. Sometimes we also call it the UVP, unique value proposition. You can hear it that way as well. What does that mean? It means we have to be different. We have to be unique. So when you go on Amazon, you know when you put in any product into Amazon, you're gonna see like 25 different products or 25 products for that same search. They're all somewhat different. How are they different? How can you make a product different? What do you think? You're one, right?
Yes.
Yes. How do you make a product different?
I mean, bunch of ways, color, presentation.
Perfect. Color, presentation.
Associate with a product. You can make the same product in a more luxury way, so people might see it different.
Great. That's exactly the way you have to think. You could change price, right? You could change the way you deliver it. You could change the refund policy. You could change the return policy. So you can make it different in all different ways. So you have to be unique and you have to be different. We don't want me too products. And that's what that unique selling proposition is. That unique value proposition is tied to that what? What is your product or what is your service? Now another key thing we want to talk about here when we think about this is what we call a brand promise, right? So a brand promise, everybody knows what a promise is. A promise is something you say that you should deliver on. So a brand makes a promise to you. Well, let's see how that plays out. Everybody knows Chick-fil-A, right? What is their product? A chicken sandwich. Okay. So what could be their brand promise? They're going to give you a quality chicken sandwich, right? Okay. See that work. Now, if you go in there and the quality is not good, did they break the brand promise to you? Yes, right? That could happen. It could happen all the time. Will you find burgers in Chick-fil-A? Probably not, because they do chicken. Okay, so they're staying to that unique selling proposition. They built a whole business around that one thing. What about iPhone? Or let's stay with iPhone. Who has an iPhone here? Are we all iPhone users? Wow, that's pretty amazing. No Androids? No Android users here? One? Just one, okay. I like them both, but no, the whole family's on iPhone, so. All right, iPhone. What is their unique selling proposition for iPhone?
Software probably.
Software, but what do they promise you? Quality. Innovation, ease of use, right? They say that it's so easy that a 4-year-old could do it. So that's sort of their brand promise. If you bought a iPhone and you didn't have innovation, you didn't have quality, you didn't have that ease of use, you probably wouldn't engage with them anymore. So that what is that first question you need to ask that ties into that unique selling proposition or unique value proposition. You have to deliver that brand promise. Remember we talked about the customer being happy. The customer, we want them to come back. We want them to be happy. Well, the customer is not going to come back and not going to be happy unless they get the brand promise met. okay? Let me grab my glasses over here. All right, next. We talked about, what was that other question we had? Well, let's put, how about the who up here? What do you think the who would be here?
Who you're targeting?
Who you're targeting. Who will buy your product? So here you are, you have Professor Ken's marketing water. It's a bottle of water that's incredible. It has all these electrolytes in it and vitamins, and it makes you really smart for digital marketing, okay? That's my brand promise. You drink Professor Ken's water and you'll never have to worry about taking another digital marketing course again, okay? Now, who am I marketing? Who can I market with that water? Students, that would be one obvious. Who else?
Athletes.
What's that?
Athletes.
Athletes could be good. Now, would they be interested in digital marketing?
Companies.
They would, the companies, I mean, water is water, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. But companies, marketers, right? They would all buy. So that who is that target market? That's exactly right. And we'll cover the target market a little bit more. You'll hear words like persona and tribe, avatar, all that is under this target market. Okay. The next question you should ask yourself here is why? Why would this person buy your product? You're making a brand promise, but why you over somebody else? So you have to be able to answer why clearly. And you can answer the why in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it comes across in your content, right? Maybe videos, testimonials, things like that. You want to give the reasons why someone would buy that particular product. The next question, again, these are the simple things that we see, is the where. Generally speaking, where can I buy it? Normally it's going to be online, but can we also have something in store too? We can, right? We have what they call that multi-channel experience or an omni-channel experience. So where would be that distribution point of how we're getting that product out there? And then the next one would be what? What, who, why, where, when. When applies every day, but if you sold ski coats or winter boots or summer vacations or beach vacations, that when becomes what we call seasonal, right? There's seasonality there, so you have to understand that. We have seasonality here in Florida, the pluses and minuses. And then the last one is how. And how is simple. Generally speaking, we're always doing the how. I mean, how do we deliver it? And generally speaking, we're doing it online in most cases. And I should say that if you're a retail store and you don't have an online presence, whether it be through social media or a website, then you're going to be missing a lot of things. You cannot have a real serious business right now without having that online presence, all right? So more or less the 5 Qs, and I always dump, I used to call them the 5 Ws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then how is how we're gonna pull it all together. So what is a USP, a UVP, both the same, unique selling proposition, unique value proposition. What brand promise are you creating? Who is your target market? The persona, the avatar, the tribe, there's different names that we call them. The why is normally the messaging, the content you're gonna deliver, why buy this product. The where is how you would distribute the product. The when could be seasonality or the timing of it all. When you talk about buying something online, it could be delivery, the delivery time, the return time, and the how, which is what we call the channels, where we're selling it in different channels. It could be online, it could be in retail, it could be a mix of different things. All right, so strategy, let's start thinking about the strategy there. Okay, now, the next thing would be something called the marketing mix. So who knows what the marketing mix is? Anybody? There's another name for it. I'm gonna give you a hint. It's called, what is that? The 4 Ps, right? Okay, perfect. The 4 Ps. What are the 4 Ps? Price. I'm going to put price down here a second. Price. What else? Not proposition. Proposition will come under one of the Ps, but not exactly. Product, yep. And what do you have? Place, okay, perfect. I'm gonna put place here. And what's the other one? Promotion, perfect. So the prop will come under promotion here, more or less, right? And sometimes you also hear like packaging. It's part of this, but the true 4 Ps are product, promotion, place, and price. So product, we covered that one already, so that's gonna be tied in. You're gonna know that. Promotion is gonna be all the marketing, the social media, all the things that we do. The place is the distribution, sort of the where. And the price is what you're going to pay for it. Now, which one of these are most important? Product. Why?
Because if you have no product, you can't sell.
Right, you can't do anything, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, I would agree with that. And then, how important is price? What do you think?
Very.
Very. Why?
Because, well, it also would depend on the product. If it's a product that a lot of people are selling, then you would have to make it competitive. And if it's too high, then no one's going to.
That's right. It has to be competitive, right? So I always think that price is very sensitive. So here's what I want you to visualize. Visualize these 4 Ps, sort of like, you know, if this is Halloween time. So you know those scary movies? Those are pretty cool. Where you go into this deep dark basement and there's like steam and there's some, I don't know, crazy psycho person down there, and you come across a steam room and the wall, and then there's like, you see like little dials, right, on the wall, something like that. These little 4 dials, and then there's this one big dial that's like red. That's like, don't turn this dial, otherwise the whole world will end. That's how I think price is. Price is like one of those big sensitive dials, because like you said, if you overprice something, you're gonna sell less, right? And if you underprice something, you'll sell more, but you'll make less money. And it's not profitable. So that's why price is very sensitive. So I'll give you a question, and we're buying stuff, right? If you saw a product that you like, and it was priced $10 lower, what do you think of that? Is that good or not?
Sometimes you see something cheaper that you think it's not good.
Right, exactly right. And what if it's $10 higher than you think it should be?
It should be better.
It should be a better price. So everybody here has what we call in our heads a reference price. We all know an idea like a price. And does everybody in here eat a hamburger? Right, more or less, hamburgers? Okay. What would you pay for, not a McDonald's stuff, but what would you, if you went to a place, what would you pay for a hamburger? What do you think?
The most?
16.
$16. $16 anymore?
The most?
Yeah, what's the most you would pay?
Probably like 30.
30? Oh, that's a good burger, right? She's already saying it's gourmet. So we're already above our price. So you see how you immediately came to that conclusion that if you're paying $30, that's got to be a better burger, right? So we know when we think about price, what the right price is and what the wrong price is. Staying on price for a second, there is what we call 3 C's. I'm going to write this all down here at the bottom. I'm going to sort of connect it this way. Let's do it this way. Under here. 3 C's of price. What do you think the 3 C's of price are? What important things that start with the letter C will affect price? Cost. Great. Good. Cost is number 1, right? Because if you don't know the cost of something, you can't come up with a price. Okay, good. And we'll talk about cost a little more effective. What's another C?
Competition.
Competition. Perfect. Yes. Why? Because let's say that competition, I don't know how to spell that too. Let's say you took Professor Ken's digital marketing course, you're great, everything is fantastic. Your cost is $1. So now you want to price the product at $10. You're going to make some money on it, right? But your competition's at $5. Is that good or bad? Well, it could be good, it could be bad, but if you don't know what your competition's doing, then you're not going to be able to create a good strategy. Okay, and what's that last C? This is always the one that no one remembers or understands. What do you think? I know you know it back there. You don't know it? Okay, I'll give you a hint. All of us.
Consumers.
Yes, exactly, consumers. Why? Because if we're good, we know our costs, we know our competition, but then the consumer says, hey, I'm not going to pay $30 for that hamburger. It doesn't matter what you do because no one's going to buy it. So the consumers have this reference price in there, and they're not going to move if they don't have that. So this is all part of the initial strategy, digital marketing strategy. So when you come up with your company an idea, we have to start thinking about the 4 Ps and these 5 Qs. Okay. So let's talk about the process of this whole thing. So I want you all to think about a clock with 4 quarters or 4 quarters of strategy. The first part of this whole strategy here is to create a goal. Right? The first part is you have to have a goal. So we know what our product is, we know what our price is, we know what our promotions are, we know our place, we know our customers, but now we have to have a goal. Sell X amount of widgets or become the #1 product in the marketplace. Okay, then we have to create the strategy, which we're doing right now. We're gonna start talking about, okay, let's do this, let's do that, different types of strategy. That next part would be execution. So now we have to go out and do what we say the strategy is to hit our goal, right? And who could think what the last part is? After you create your goal, evaluate, measure, right? That's perfect. So measure. So think about it this way. Every once in a while we decide we want to get healthier, right? We decide that we want to lose weight. For me, it's every year. Normally, it's in January, right? It's that we call that the diet season, by the way, just so you know. And I sold bread and snacks all these years. From what? From January 1 to about February 15th is what we call diet season. Everybody's gonna lose 10 pounds, right? That's the plan. But then January 5th comes around and you're like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do it a little bit later. And then the next season is what? What happens? After diet season is another season. It's called it's called the summer swimsuit season, right? Because before around April, May, everybody wants to look good in their bathing suits, so they want to start losing weight again and all that stuff, right? And then there's like a fall diet season, and that's like just before the holidays, because you know you're gonna like eat all kinds of stuff, so you want to thin out before you get fat again or something like that, right? Okay. Well, let's say we want to lose 10 pounds. That's our goal. We want to lose 10 pounds. Now we have to come up with a strategy. So how do we lose 10 pounds? Well, we're gonna stop eating all the unhealthy food, no candy, no soda, no chocolate, right? All that stuff. We're gonna eat healthier, we're gonna eat smaller, we're gonna not eat before 8 o'clock at night, and that type of thing, right? So that's our strategy. Our goal is to lose 10 pounds in, let's say, 4 weeks, and then we execute. We go out there and we start executing on our strategy. You know, maybe we miss on Monday, we miss on Tuesday, we miss on Wednesday. And at the end of the week comes, and then what do we do to find out if we're on goal or not? We get on the scale, we weigh ourselves, right? We measure. And we see that we gained a pound. All right? Uh-oh, that strategy didn't work because I'm going the wrong way. So now I got to even dial in even more, so my strategy's got to get better. So now I do that strategy, redo the strategy, execute again, and now we see we're back to, you know, minus 10. And we keep doing that over and over again until we get to the weight loss that we need. Well, that's what this whole strategy is all about. We have to create a goal, create the strategy, execute it, and then measure. And then we have to do it again and do it again. So let's say if our goal was to sell 100 units, and we create a strategy of doing Google ads, doing social media, doing email campaigns. And we go out there and we do the ads, we do the social media, we do the email campaigns, and we only sell 50 units. Okay, that means that we have to not change the goal, but change the strategy. or we can keep the strategy if we have enough time to execute it. So we always have to evaluate it. It's a continuous process at all times, right? Goal, strategy, execution, and measure. So once we do all this in our minds, we can set things up. All right, now, if we're doing this, there's something out there called the competition, okay? And we mentioned that in our C's. Okay, so we know that we don't want to be comfortable. We don't want to stay too long in one spot. We know we have a strategy, but now we have to find out what is our competition doing. In order for us to understand what the competition is doing, we also need to understand what we're doing. Okay, we need to know our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and threats, right? We call that what? That's the SWOT. You guys heard of that before?
Yeah.
All right. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we have to know that. Now, before we start understanding the competition, and I'm going to grid this like this, we should know me first. I should know what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what my opportunities and my threats are. If I have this great product, I should know what the strength is, what the weakness, what the opportunities, and what the threats are. So once I understand that, then I want to understand competitor 1 and competitor 2. And I like to think about up to 3 competitors, okay? And competitor 3, because now I'm seeing what they're doing. And if I'm able to come up with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for each competitor, so let's say I do 1, 2, 3 for each one, right? That type of thing, whatever it may be, and I have mine over here, I'll be able to see how they match or don't match against one another. And I like to, anyone follow sports? I know you're into baseball. Anybody follow like soccer or American football or anything like that? When you or basketball, right? Basketball season just kicked off. So is there a strategy when you compete against another team normally, right? You put a strategy out there. Do you know what the team's strengths, weaknesses, their opportunities and threats are when you compete against them? You know who their best player is, who their worst player is. You know if player A gets tired fast. So you have all this information in front of you. So now you can create your strategy based on that analysis. And you know, you ever see those charts where they do all this over here and they do this over here, right? And that's explaining everything. So that's the SWOT analysis. Now, your strengths and your weaknesses are internal. Those are the things that you do good or don't do good. So what are you strong at and what are you weak at? Your opportunities and threats, these are external. So external would be things like COVID. Did anybody know COVID would come, right? You didn't. So you can't plan against a threat that you don't know is there. But we're in Florida, right? What happens every year? What do we prepare for every year in Florida? Hurricanes. We know there's always a threat of a hurricane between what? June and October, right? So as a company, if you're with a company, do you have a hurricane plan in place? Yeah. Right? Because you know that threat is real. Opportunities could be anything else outside. Let's say something is new that's happening, like a fad or a trend that you haven't seen it coming, but it's outside of your control, but now you could take advantage of it. So these are what we call the micro environments, things that you can't really control, but could affect your business. Politics, this country is more isolated than most, but when a new president comes into power, at least in the US, there isn't like a big shift in the way things are handled. There are changes, but in some countries it can go from left to right very fast. Here in the States it takes a longer to do that. So politics could change it. The laws could change it, right? this year here in Florida, we have legalizing the use of recreational marijuana. Okay, is that an opportunity if you had a smoke shop, right? Is it a threat if you have a vape shop? Right? It could be. So those are things that are outside of your control. So you have to see that and you have to understand that. So part of the thought of that strategy is how do we map all that out, okay? So remember, we're always in a continuous circle and we're looking at our competition and we're understanding what our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. Let's talk about the brand again. Let's go up here and put that, remember that what is that product? So what is equal to product? Okay. Okay. So what is equal to product? So let's think about this. My product is I'm gonna go back to the water scenario. So I have a great water. This water is a nice water and it has, and I'm making this up and I have no idea how to make a good water, but let's just say it has electrolytes in it, it has vitamins in it, and somehow it does something to your brain capacity and it turns on the ability to do digital marketing really good. Professor Ken's digital marketing water. All right. So that is my product. Now I have to come up with a USP, that unique selling proposition first, which is going to make it different, right? So I do stuff like makes digital marketing easier. Okay. Has vitamins and stimulates brain waves. I don't know. I'm making this up as I go along, right? Okay, so that's my USP. This is going to make me different. Professor Ken's digital marketing water makes digital marketing easier, has vitamins and nutrition, right, to help you during your day, and stimulates the brain waves to make you think faster. So every time, my brand promise will be, every time you drink it, that's going to equal to better brain power, all right? Something like that. Okay. So now I have my product, my USP is defined a little better. Every time you drink it, it's going to give you better brain power, and specifically, and I don't know why, but it's going to increase your ability to do digital marketing. All right, it's a magical water. All right, perfect. So now we got the idea of what that is. USP, the brand promise. Now, we talked about pricing for a moment. Let's go back to one of those C's, cost. It cost me $1 to make this, to put the bottle. And by the way, the bottle is nice. You remember the, what's that brand? Voss? It used to come in that nice glass bottle. Now they're plastic, right? But it used to go. What's that? They have the glass too? All right, I haven't seen glass in a while. I've seen the plastic, but it used to be a nice glass bottle. All right, well, Professor Ken's water is like that. It's in a nice glass bottle. It's like blue, so it looks like it looks shiny and all that stuff, and it's like a 16 ounce. So it cost me $1. What should I sell it for? What should be my price?
12.
How much?
12.
12. I like the way you're thinking. Why do you think 12?
Because we have a glass bottle.
Because you see? That's good. I like it. You're hired. All right, $12. Everybody agree with that? $12? Now, why is that also good? That's also good. Why? Because now don't we need to spend money to get this bottle out there? Right? We do need to do marketing and all that stuff. So that's what we call a 12x. Remember that math we talked about last week where obviously 1 times 12 is $12, okay? So that's important. Now, how am I selling this? What is my place? How am I selling this?
Online?
Only online, right? Just online. So I have a website. I have social media. I'm doing TikTok shop, right? Okay, perfect. And do I have a shipping policy?
No.
No? So you have to pay for shipping?
Free shipping.
Free shipping. Okay, good. At what price?
$50 minimum.
$50, you get free shop. Yeah, $50 free shipping. Perfect. $50 free shipping. Beautiful. Okay, see how this is all coming together now? This is not that different than what we're doing when we buy something, right? So free shipping at $50. Do I have a return policy?
No return.
No returns. Of course not. I don't want it back. No returns. All right, perfect. Okay, and then there's a little few other things like rewards programs and things of that nature, referral programs, or you can go on and on. What's that? Subscription, right. You get it every month, right? That type of thing. Okay, so now it's starting to take shape. Okay, now the next thing we need to know about is our goal. So now this is sort of where we're putting that strategy together. Okay, this is all part of it, the strategy, but now we're going to come up with our goal. What is our goal? Who give me a goal for Professor Ken's Water? What do you think? What do you want to do?
Sell 200 bottles a year.
200 bottles a year. Okay, perfect. There's no right or wrong here, right? We're just thinking out loud. 200 a year. Perfect. All right, 200 bottles a year. Now, what's the next part? We had goal, then what's the next thing we have to do? Strategy, right? How are we going to sell 200 bottles a year? What do you think?
By finding a place or like an aisle in Walmart or something like that.
Okay, an aisle in water. Now, that's good. Hold that thought. Don't move from there yet. But did we decide we're going to sell in retail or online? Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Who watches Shark Tank? Anybody? Okay, what do they do when you see Shark Tank and they say they have an online business and they want to sell in Walmart? What do? They're like, oh, you can't do that. It's very expensive. Yes, that could be a step, but not the first step. So retrain that thought. So now you're only selling online. So what would your strategy be to sell online?
Maybe, I don't know.
Ads.
You know, ads? Yeah, right? We're talking about ads, right? Ads where? Ads on Google, maybe ads on Facebook, right? You would also maybe do social media, right? How much does it cost to have a social media account? Free, right? Okay. Would you do influences maybe, right? Okay, influences, okay, good. Influences are expensive sometimes, right? I don't know, I haven't checked in a bit, but I think who has the most followers? Is it the soccer player? Yes, I think he's like 400 million or something like that, some crazy number, and he gets paid like $1 million a post, right?
I think it's more than that.
Yeah, I guess it could be. I don't know. Last I checked,
Kardashian got paid for 1 million.
and she has like 200 million followers. I'm like, come on, really? I mean, that's 199,999,000 more than I have, right? But they get a lot. They get paid a lot. So in influencers, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but there's what we call macro influences, which would be, you know, the what's that?
Normal people.
Yeah, and well, micro, which would be normal. Yeah, it could be normal people, guys like us, you know, that do it. And maybe I have 5,000 followers, right? And I only need to get paid $5,000, $1 a follower. I'm happy with that. If I get 20 brands, they give me 5,000 a year. That's 100 grand, right? That's not a bad income. I could, you know, go to the beach more often. That'll be great. Is that better to have a micro influencer, or is it better to have a micro influencer?
And it depends what you're selling and what you're trying, because micro like usually goes to like a niche audience.
Yes.
If you're selling something that's like very, I don't know, like has like a specific target,
Yeah.
or a specific demographic, you might want to use micro influencers.
Yes. So there's no right or wrong here, right? It's going to depend. And then if you had $1 million to spend, let's say, and you could afford some type of macro influencer, one, for one post, or you can get 100 with 100 posts, which route would you take?
100 posts.
Right? Now, that doesn't mean you're gonna get more. I mean, look, do you think the 400 million people Ronaldo has, or 200 million that Kardashian has, you post, they're really gonna buy in or not? It's like, so you have to really evaluate that. There's something really appealing about it. So influencers could be a strategy too, right? Okay. What else could be a strategy besides the ads? And we're gonna focus right here. That's where our focus is gonna be, on the ads. But since we're talking about strategy, what else could be strategies? What else could you do? Could you give away free samples?
I was going to say giveaways.
Right, give away free samples. What about referrals, things like that, right? Affiliate marketing, things like that. Drop shipping, right? You know about drop shipping. We could create a drop ship program. So there's a lot of things that we can do to get that out. Okay, now let's talk about the next step. The next step would be execution. So to execute ads, social, and influencers, what do we need to do? The first one's easy. We need to place ads, okay? Social media, we need to create content. Influencer, we need to find some. So that's all about taking action here. So that means we need content, okay? Remember last session we talked about the consumer being here, and we're the marketer over here, and what's between us? That's the content, right? That content is the ads, the social, and the influences. So in this particular case, now that we have everything defined, the content has to be tied into the messaging, and has to be tied into that brand and that promise over here. So when we create content, it's going to be one of Professor Ken's students sitting in the classroom, drinking water with one hand and taking the quiz, the digital marketing quiz, and getting 100 on it with the other, right? It's going to be somebody at an office with getting 10,000 followers on their social media posts because they're drinking Professor Ken's digital marketing water and creating good posts, right? That type. Or it's going to be someone selling 1,000 widgets because they're doing good digital marketing strategy because they're drinking Professor Ken's digital marketing water. So everyone's drinking water and doing something successfully online. That's the whole point of this. So that's the messaging. So what can we say? I don't know. Be good, be smart, drink Professor Ken's digital marketing water, or something like that. I would come up with something better than that, right? We would have to think about the messaging and the brand promise. Every time you drink Professor Ken's digital marketing water, you'll have better brain power to increase your ability to do digital marketing. That's the brand promise. So we're going to create messaging and branding around that. So all the content we're doing that's going to get served up to that customer is going to be focused around that whole idea. Think about this. The next time you're looking at an ad for your favorite brand, see if it resonates with you. See if that brand messaging is what you like and what you're tied into. That's the key. So your first exercise here is to create your strategy, is to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to deliver it. That's that first part. Because the next part is going to be the creation of the ads and the execution. So first we have to think it all through, and this is how it all sort of comes together. There's a little more bits and pieces as we go on, but this is sort of the premise of it. You got to know the what, the why, the who, the how, the where, the price, the 4 P's, price, promotion, product, and the place. And then you got to think about the marketing wheel. There's no right or wrong in marketing. Remember, we talked about this already. How do you know if you're doing a good job in your marketing? You're making sales. Exactly right. So that's sort of the process there.